Surely everyone here has a bunch of so-called privacy things in their bodies, right? This one password. A diary. A playlist of cheesy country music that you only dare to turn on when you're sure there's no one around. Or even the web browsing history that you swear you will take to the grave, or a folder on the desktop that sounds like study material, but inside is definitely not. You guys know that feeling. The very instinctive type of selfishness, wanting to keep something for yourself, deciding for yourself who gets to see and who gets to know. Many times it's just an open anonymous tab, a text message that's typed and then deleted, or a thought that has to be swallowed back during a meeting. This instinct of wanting to have private space is very real, extremely clear. But wait, where does that instinct come from? Is it because modern people draw it themselves after having room doors, curtains, phone passwords, or Netflix accounts? Or was it that 40,000 years ago, the ancestors who were carving stones to make axes also had times when they wanted to be left alone, not wanting to be watched or dragged into the group's drama? Today, we will find the answer together. And as always, the information is compiled and collected by us from many sources, so if there is anything missing or needs correction, please feel free to comment below. First of all, we must define what private life is. In modern terms, it is a physical space, a personal bedroom, or private choices not to post on social networks. But if stripped down to its core, privacy is actually simply this: information or space that you control but others do not. That's it, that's all. This means that technically, privacy does not necessarily require doors, curtains, or fancy phones. It only requires one ability, the ability to hide, whether it's a thought, an action, or a relationship. And we humans, even the most ancient ones, turn out to be extremely expert at this. The trick of lying, keeping secrets, or turning on your own acting mode depending on who's looking at you, turns out it's not a modern invention. Maybe it is one of humanity's oldest cognitive tools, appearing before we even knew how to speak. Some primatologists, while observing chimpanzees, our closest relatives, have discovered many very funny literary fruits in the wild. For example, a chimpanzee knows how to hide food from the alpha male's eyes. Or another one pretends to ignore or pay no attention to its children when an opponent is watching, then waits until no one is paying attention before sneaking closer to catch the signal. Sound familiar? Hiding things and acting deeply like this is no different from modern people. Chimpanzees and humans diverged about 6 million years ago. That means the roots of this sneakiness date back to that time. I didn't invent stealth, I just took it to a new level. Now let's step back a bit, about 300,000 years ago, when Homo sapiens first appeared on the Earth server. At this time, the wild world is really scary. If you make a mistake, you will immediately become prey to lions, cave bears, or mammoths. Yet archaeologists still find burial relics from this era in extremely meticulous ways. People don't have time to arrange the dead body neatly, spread red powder, and attach shells, burial items, etc. If they don't consider the person lying down to be a special individual. This suggests that as early as 300,000 years ago, the concept of self was formed. The dead person is not just a corpse in the herd, but an individual with his own story, his own life. And this is the key point. Once you have the concept of self, you will automatically create the concept of my things, my thoughts, and my secrets. These two things go together as a pair and cannot be separated. But what did the real life of ancient people look like? During the Stone Age, people lived in small migratory herds of about 20 to 50 lives. Imagine a scene where 50 people eat together, sleep together, and hang out together 24/7. Sleeping is close to hand, everyone snores loudly, sneezes, or has emotional drama, everyone knows it all. There was no door to close, no way to leave the room in a huff. So what kind of privacy? Is it possible that their life is like a permanent group chat without a mute button? Actually, no. This place is new and cool. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer tribes, people who still maintain the same lifestyle as their ancestors, have discovered something extremely interesting. Even though they live together in an open space, they still have a way to create privacy with invisible walls, that is, social conventions. There are hidden rules that everyone must know. Do not stare when others are doing personal work. Do not arbitrarily enter other people's tents at sensitive hours. If someone suddenly turns their back to the herd and stares at the cliff, the whole herd will understand that they should leave them alone. Or if someone goes alone into the forest in a certain direction, absolutely no one will follow behind and look. These invisible walls are sometimes even more solid than today's brick walls, because if anyone breaks the rules, they will be considered extremely ungrateful and immediately receive punishment from the group. It turns out privacy doesn't need brickbats, it needs collective consensus. There is an extremely personal story that few people mention when talking about prehistoric times. That story. Most other animals act openly in broad daylight, there's nothing to be shy about. But people are different. Anthropological evidence shows that since ancient times, marital affairs were always handled out of sight of the community. People will sneak into the deep forest or wait for the whole herd to fall asleep and then use the darkness for cover. Why must it be so miserable? Because in human society, sex is associated with jealousy, status, alliances, and even power. Knowing who is sleeping with whom is sensitive information that can cause huge conflicts within the pack. So if you want to live peacefully, you must know how to hide. Our ancestors 40,000 years ago probably had to sneak into the bushes all the time, and they certainly didn't want to be caught red-handed, because the consequences of eating enough were real. Now let's go deeper into the inner world. Did ancient people have private thoughts? Of course, yes, each person's skull is the most secure encryption space. But do they have a rich inner world and can lie awake thinking late at night like us? No one has been able to unearth fossilized thoughts, but we have a very good clue: cave paintings. Famous paintings in Chauvet or Lascaux caves date from 17,000 to 36,000 years ago, depicting all kinds of bison, horses, and beautiful handprints. The strange thing is that many of these paintings are located deep inside the cave, dark, narrow places that require a torch to crawl in to see, not at the entrance where the herd gathers. Why waste time drawing in a place where almost no one can see? A fairly convincing hypothesis is that these paintings were not meant to be displayed for the whole flock to see. It is a personal experience, perhaps a spiritual ritual, a personal prayer, or simply an ancient form of journaling. They want to create something just for themselves or for a higher being they believe in. That is the expression of an extremely deep inner world. Not to mention, archaeologists also found personal items with no practical value like hunting, such as individually colored stones and perforated seashells used as necklaces. That's how they affirm, "This is my style, this dish is mine." But once you have your own things, there will definitely be a game of hiding things, keeping the secret place for your salary. Oh, wrong, a place to store valuables. There is also something called emotional privacy. Did ancient people know how to act deeply? Absolutely yes. Managing facial expressions, crying on the inside but smiling brightly on the outside, is an extremely important survival technology in a small group. At that time, if you showed weakness, panic, or madness, you could be underestimated by the herd, given less food, or worse, kicked out of the herd. But in that Paleolithic era, being kicked out of the herd was no different from receiving a permanent ticket. So everyone must learn to wear masks to survive. The real turning point came about 10,000 years ago, the agricultural revolution. People began to settle down and build permanent houses. And so architecture appeared, completely changing the game of privacy. Houses began to be divided into rooms, separating sleeping, cooking, and storage areas. A good example is the settlement of Çatalhöyük in Turkey around 7500 BC. The houses here are built close together and have absolutely no doors on the side. To enter the house, you have to climb up to the roof and then take the ladder down. True to the My House is a fortress style. Anyone who wants to enter must have the consent of the homeowner, and there is no way to get lost. As society became more and more complex, writing was born, leading to a plethora of dramas recorded on ancient documents. Ancient Mesopotamians left behind baskets of clay tablets, and a large portion of them were personal correspondence. Reading these stories makes me laugh so hard because they are all about complaining about family members being financially poor, exposing dishonest business partners, or arguing about land inheritance with an extremely bitter attitude. When it comes to ancient Egypt, it's even busier. Besides the majestic pyramids, people here often use ostraka, that is, broken pieces of pottery and limestone to write drafts for cheap. And so we have a treasure trove of ancient confessions, from love confession letters, notes defaming the bosses of tomb builders, to adultery, squandering money owed. These are all secrets that they just want to pass on to each other and don't want the whole president to know. In short, the desire for privacy is not a faulty product of the digital age or smartphones. It is a feature that has been built into the human operating system since the time we became aware of it. So next time, if you're secretly deleting your browsing history or locking your study materials folder, don't be shy. You guys are not alone. Our ancestors tens of thousands of years ago also found every way to hide things like that. Privacy is an indispensable part of being human. And hopefully your secret folder won't be filtered by anyone, so you'll be happy.